episode numero dos of the Sideline Sports Show with Ben and Tim. Tim, how you doing this week, buddy?
You know, Ben, I'm absolutely fantastic, man. I couldn't be better. You know, a lot of things happen right now. Crazy times. We got the NBA Finals going on. I mean, Olympics are right around the corner now. I'm looking forward to some certain sports like baseball and softball are going to be back. It's going to.
Oh yeah.
And we have some interesting headlines with the USA men's national team losing two straight to two teams that you wouldn't expect them to lose, including one team that just a mere 8 years ago they beat by 83 points. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting storylines with that. You got the Braves since we last talked, Ronald Acuna Jr. Unfortunately tearing his ACL and he's out for the year. So that's some interesting storylines there, and there's just so much to cover. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. Other than that injury you mentioned, other than that, pretty good. I've been going all day. I've been from Ellijay, Georgia, all the way back to Hartwell, Georgia, and then I'll be in North Carolina tomorrow. So,
wow,
just going all day.
I've been to work, back to work. Then I've been to certain swimming pools and areas, which was with my brother and stuff, hanging out with him. So I haven't quite traveled as far as you. But I will say I don't quite have the background you have. Now the people on the podcast might not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
the people watching the live stream are gonna see that background, man. What you got going on back there?
Literally, it's a box that we created out of Tim in South Carolina. How do people say it? Sauna. Yeah, gotcha.
You and Hart will say Sona. Is that it?
I don't know. I just maybe say it wrong, and I assume I say it right all the time, and I just don't. No. So who knows?
Sauna's definitely not the way to say that.
Yeah, a sauna. Sorry for the people that have to say it right. Anyway, long story short, I'm in Peach State Studios and Media in Hartwell, Georgia, and we turned this into a recording studio. So you see these black panels behind me, and that's basically to block out the noise that comes out from the store, because there's a store in the front of this studio as well. So it's just blocking out the noise. So it's pretty cool though.
It's crazy. The black backdrop. That's
yeah. And then I got this little ring light that lights me up. So yeah, it makes me glow.
I got a little shade above me that's lighting me up.
Well, Tim, let's go ahead and talk about some sports going on in the world.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you mentioned one thing that was big in the sports world is Ronald Acuna Jr. goes down with a huge ACL injury, and now he's out for the remainder of the year. What do you think about the Braves in the second half now that they don't have him?
Can I just say yikes? I mean, the team's been injury riddled the entire year, and hasn't been above 500 not one time this year. Not one time. Every time
they get curse.
Yeah, it's a curse. Every time they get even relatively close, they just go on a losing streak. They even had a chance on the last day before the All-Star break to finally get over 500 and couldn't do it. But
it sucked.
Yeah.
And now
started the game off with 9 straight Ks. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah, now it's kind of that part where you're like, you already struggled with the outfield. We talked about that a little bit last week with especially Ozuna not having a timetable coming back. So now you have Ronald Acuna Jr. that's out, and now you really just don't have an outfield because you have Ender Inciarte, which hasn't been that great. It hasn't been that great since 2017. So now you have the other Almonte and Guerrero. No, it's not Guerrero. What is his last? Yeah, Heredia. And so now you're like, what are we supposed to do? Do you call up Pache? Do you call up Drew Waters? Or do you call them both up at the same time? Or do you just go to the trade market where you go get somebody like Chris Bryant and sacrifice a lot of young talent for this year? Because you're still in playoff contention. You're 4.5 games back, and you have a potential to still win the East. So do you take that risk and go get somebody like Chris Bryant or Nick Castellanos from the Reds? or do you go get a guy like Jesse Winker? I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely don't think you should buy hard, but I don't think you should really sell hard either. And let me
Yeah.
explain. If you go hard and you get rid of that talent, let's say like a Drew Waters, which I don't expect them, and hopefully they don't get rid of him in a trade. You don't want to get rid of the farm just to get a guys, even though you're hadn't been above 500 all year. I know you're only 4.5 games back, but if you're going to buy hard, you need teams that buy hard. Make sure that they have World Series aspirations. Right now, that's not really in the Braves line of sight right now. That's just not something that they have visions for this year. I'm just sorry, with injuries and then off the field problems with Acuna, excuse me, injuring and tearing his ACL. I mean, it's just bullpen having struggles, starting pitching having struggles. The bullpen's kind of like hot. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold.
It's hot potato.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're hot one day and then they suck the next.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I haven't found a better way to describe that yet. That was nice. But yeah, this team's just been. I don't know. It hasn't been the World Series type of team and hopeful that we thought it would be. Now maybe they go on a run and make it a probable run. And if so, they'd have to do it the next month before the trade deadline. So, and exactly. I don't think with their schedule coming up, I don't believe they will.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem is not just injuries, but you also mentioned starting pitching. Charlie Morton, honestly, is the best pitcher right now. Believe it or not. And then the next second best pitcher, maybe Kyle Mueller. And he's in AAA, coming down. Max Fried hasn't been consistent.
Very inconsistent. Those are the exact words I was going to use. You don't know what you're going to get from him every fifth day. You just don't know. And then all of a sudden, next thing you'll see, he's on the IL for 10 days. And you're
exactly
just like, okay, well. Oh, well, then, guess he's going to miss one or two starts. And again, the injury bug. I mean, we found out Mike Soroka's not going to be back. In fact, he's probably going to miss half of the 2022 season.
Ian Anderson just went to the 10-day IL. And so now you're just like, who's that consistent starting pitcher for the Braves right now? And right now, it's no one. It's other than Charlie Morton. You don't have a 2 guy. You don't have a 3 guy. You don't have a 4 guy. Your 2 guy right now is Drew Smiley, and he has not been consistent either. So what do you do if you're the Braves? Do you go all out on this outfield, or do you go all out in starting pitching?
Well, I hope it's pitching because the pitching has been absolutely abysmal. But I got a little something for you. I just got a notification, ESPN reporting here. Today's game between the Red Sox and Yankees, for you live people out there, it has been postponed due to COVID-19 positive tests in the Yankees organization. So you're hoping you were going to get the Red Sox and Yankees tonight and possibly this weekend, and it may not happen. Just a little breaking news for you that just kind of popped up on my phone.
Now this could also play a huge factor because, and I'll tell you this why, it could be somebody like Aaron Judge, who was at the All-Star game. And if he was at the All-Star game, you got to think, all these other guys were at the All-Star game. So now you're playing into a role that it could affect multiple other teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. It remains seen like how many kind of positives that we see come out of this.
Yeah,
I'm hoping and praying that there's not a lot, and I don't think there will be at this point. But you never know.
Yeah, you never know with this COVID thing because now it could affect the Braves. It could affect the San Diego Padres. We don't know. So it will all play out here in the next couple of days, and we'll get to figure that out. So talking about the second half of the season, do you think the Braves could make a run? I know that they're only 4.5 games back, but you got to think, is this a team that can compete, or is this a team that's just going to fall behind and just forget the rest of the year?
I think I'm leaning more towards, and I'm a Braves fan, so this kind of hurts me. I'm definitely leaning more towards that the season's going to be lost before soon, just because the Mets are uber talented. I mean, and of course they got the best pitcher in baseball right now without it. There's no argument. And
no doubt. Yeah.
Jacob deGrom, who's just been flat out unhittable. And then they've got players like Lindor. I think he's starting to come around a little bit. Their offense is waking up a little bit. And I think the Mets honestly take the division. And the Braves, right now, the wild card race is basically NL West. Whoever the second and third place teams are in the NL West are going to get the wild cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Braves, if they get lucky, they could contend for that wild card spot, but I'm not sure. I don't think they could.
Have to go on like a 8 to 10 game winning streak in order to get back in the hunt for that.
I think the two biggest things for them to even compete for a wild card would be, what do you do at the trade deadline? And what do you get? Or who do you bring up? Do you bring up
who do you
young
ship
pitchers?
out? Who do you ship out? Who do you get rid of?
Yeah, who do you get rid of? Or who do you bring up? Do you bring up that young talent in Pache and Waters? Or do you just let them sit in AAA for another year and a half and just give up? Who knows? We'll just see how the Braves do. All right, well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the NBA Finals Game 4 last night, and we'll talk about what does that mean for the Suns coming up in these next couple of games. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into the Sideline Sports Show. Well, Ben, I want to talk about in this segment. I want to get into the NBA Finals. Yeah, we had Game 4 last night. The Bucks came away with a 109-103 victory. Chris Middleton, as people are calling it, his Chris Middleton type game, and he goes off for 40 points. I mean, Giannis had all he did was go 26 points, 14 rebounds. So for the Greek Freak, that's an average day at the office. So, but overall, I think that the key from Game 4 to take away was Chris Paul. I mean, the man had, I believe it was 5 turnovers officially.
Yeah, and he only had 6 points at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, and obviously the Suns are going to need more from him. They're going to have to have more from him because otherwise, he's the leader of that team. Mm-hmm. He's the one that makes that team go. Just like anywhere he goes, he makes the team that he's on better, and which is why we obviously believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Which leads me to this. And we all agree that Chris Paul is going to be a Hall of Famer one day, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, now I put the Hall of Fame, no matter what sport it is, in categories. Then to me, basketball has 3 categories. One is the one that you get in. You had great numbers, great statistical numbers. Probably you maybe had 1 ring if you were lucky. Like the Charles Barkleys that didn't have any. And then you have the tier 2 where you had a few rings, but you made a difference and you were a great player. You were probably top 30, top 20 player. And then the tier 3, which is like the GOAT status, like MJ, Kobe, LeBron James, those type of guys.
Steph Curry will get into that category as well.
Yeah, exactly. And right now I have Chris Paul is solidly in the tier 1 status that I have him in. Now if he needs this title, in my opinion, because you can't go up 2-0 in a series in an NBA Finals and then blow it and still be in that tier 2 status. With a title here, I fully believe, and I would put him into that tier 2 status.
Yeah, I could see that. I think we don't need to really pinpoint it on just Chris Paul. Because let me say this. It's not just Chris Paul. It's Devin Booker. It's all these other guys that are contributing. But the problem is Devin Booker last night in the third quarter had 5 fouls. So he had to sit out majority of the fourth quarter.
And should have had a 6 in the fourth when he bare-hugged Drew Holiday, but it just didn't get called for some reason.
Exactly. But when you have all these fouls, you got to go to your bench players. And the guys who rely on the Suns are relying on all these starters. So now, when they're all in foul trouble, you're putting your bench out there against Giannis and Chris Middleton and all these other starters for the Bucks because they don't pull their starters out that much. So realistically, it's all these fouls too. It's not just Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul, but I agree. I think if he gets this ring, sure, you could maybe put him in that second category. But if he loses, I don't even know if he could be in the first one because, sure, you've made every team better. But at the same time, you've never been able to win a championship. And you've had teams, especially like the Clippers that he played on. They should have won a ring, but they never did. You had the Houston Rockets a couple years ago when Golden State was at the top of their level and they choked against Golden State. And then you have this opportunity now to beat the Bucks, and if you choke, it's like, really?
Wait,
Like,
so are you actually saying that if Chris Paul, even if so, say for instance they go on to lose 2 of the next three games, you just tell me you don't believe Chris Paul belongs in the Hall of Fame?
I think he's won enough games. I think he's been a great leader, but there's nothing to me that stands out that says, okay, yeah, I would consider you a Hall of Famer. Sure, you've played on great teams, but if you go into the Hall of Fame as a good player that has played on great teams, it's hard for me to be like, oh, I'd rather put Steph Curry in there before you. Or
that's a whole nother ballgame. Steph Curry is someone that is on track to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question. But if you look at Chris Paul though, and you talk about he's played on great teams, he's been the difference maker on those great teams.
True.
He's been the Rockets. I think I made this point last week's show. When they faced when the Rockets faced the Golden State Warriors. If they have Chris Paul, a healthy Chris Paul, because he got injured at the end of Game 5, they would have won that series. I fully believe that.
I fully believe that too.
And that's not really controversial. There's a lot of people that share that same opinion. So sit there, and I feel like to say that Chris Paul has been a part of some great teams, I feel like it's kind of not doing him enough justice.
Yeah, I mean, he has been on great teams. But what has he done on those great teams? There's nothing to really show.
He's been the difference maker. He's been the difference maker. Now, but the problem is, look at the teams that he's had to go against. Like, I mean, he went against. If he doesn't get hurt, like I said, they beat the Warriors just a few years ago in the Western Conference Finals, and they would have whoever was coming out of that was going to win the title. I mean, everybody knew it. So, and he would have had that title, but he got hurt, unfortunately. And he spent he spent some years in New Orleans. And just, we all know now, Zion Williamson is figuring this out. That place, it's not looking like a place where you can win. So
it's a place to go and die.
Yeah, basically, or have years of your career wasted. So and then Lob City, we come out with, there's problems there. There's too many people that wanting the ball. Everybody wants lobs. Everybody wants dunks. Obviously, you can look at Chris Paul and know that's not quite his game. So I don't know. And there were some things that happened there, and he still regards that place as his home. But there were some other issues and stuff that were happening there. And again, he was in the West. Everybody knows he's been in the West, I believe, his entire career. And so the West has always been strong. It's always been tough. And now I sound like I'm making excuses. I'm not. But at the same time, to say that Chris Paul needs to win the title to be in the Hall of Fame, I disagree with that. And I just feel like his statistical numbers speak for themselves. And his leadership, I mean, he took the Thunder, for crying out loud, that team to the playoffs just a year ago and led them into the bubble. And it took the Houston Rockets, his former team, to 6 games. Stuff like that is what he's known for. And he's been on these teams, and he's not only been a part of great teams, he's been the difference maker on those great teams.
Yeah. Well, let's flip the switch. Let's go to the NBA Finals. Now the Bucks have tied it.
They have.
Does that mean the Suns are in trouble now? I think maybe with the foul trouble, they could be. I think if that continues on like it has in the past 2 games, I think that will be a huge problem, especially going forward, especially in games where you got to for instance, they played Wednesday night, but now you're going to play on Saturday because now there's longer days of travel since it's the NBA Finals. So now you're going from Phoenix back to Milwaukee and then possibly back to Phoenix. And maybe that plays a difference. I don't know. I don't know if the longer days play difference or not, but their mindset going into these past two games have not been there, especially when they've been there every single game for the past couple of games in the playoffs, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But,
I got you. Yeah. And and to your point, I think the biggest difference so far has been the return of fans, man, in 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix, that place was rocking. Milwaukee, that place was rocking even harder.
They even had a packed outside, like, pavilion area.
Yeah, those fans were going nuts outside. I mean, I think that's been the difference so far. And so in the bubble and stuff, there were obviously no home court advantage. You were practically playing on the same courts night in and night out. So, but now you're playing in front of your home fans, and they're going crazy. And I feel like that's definitely helped Giannis, without a doubt, because he doesn't have fans screaming, 1, 2, 3, 4 at him, because God knows it.
But he still misses
a free throw. Yeah, but I mean, he had over 40 in Game 3 and the 26 points and 14 boards last night. So it definitely the turn home or the home cooking or the being able to sleep in your own bed definitely makes a difference. Now, this seems to me like this is very similar to the Bucks series against the Brooklyn Nets, in a game in which they lost the first two games in Brooklyn. They lost them pretty bad. They looked really bad, just like they did in the NBA Finals games 1 and 2 in Phoenix. So I'm seeing some similarities. And as soon as they came home, they had a hard-fought win against Brooklyn in Game 3, and then not quite as tight, but it was still a hard-fought victory in Game 4 and even the series. And eventually went on to prolong that series to 7 games and won that in overtime. And I'm getting kind of the same vibes here. They get crushed in Game 1 and 2. It's really the final scores weren't that close. In Game 2 was close for a little bit, but they made a run at one point, but it was never really in doubt. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then they come home. And now they blow out Phoenix in Game 3. That completely shocked me. I expected them to win. I didn't expect them to get blown out. Now brings me to last night, the hard-fought victory. I mean, last night was a game we all needed because the first 3 games of the NBA Finals, let's face it, they were lackluster. You knew who the winner was going to be basically from probably midway through the second quarter on. So we finally needed a game like this where it was coming down to the wire. Phoenix is trying really hard to put themselves on the brink of a championship, and Milwaukee's trying to they're not trying to get to that brink.
Yeah, and you made that good point right there, especially where Chris Paul, I mean, Suns had it in their hands. Chris Paul makes that huge turnover towards the end, and then Giannis gets that huge block that just changes the whole momentum of the game. And I think it was huge because that was the biggest momentum changer of that whole game was that block especially. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've heard even people call that block legendary, and that's going to live on, especially if the Bucks go on to win this series, which I'm still trying to figure out who I'm rooting for in this series.
Me too.
I definitely believe I think Phoenix is still going to win this thing. At this point, I think it's going to go 7 just because I'm not going to go conspiracy theory on you, Ben, but okay. Don't be surprised, if this thing goes 7 because I guarantee you, Adam Silver and NBA want this to go 7 because more games means
it gets more money.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom always believes, and I know I'm calling her out, but she always believes like these conspiracy theories where it's like, oh, they're just going to go 7 games to make more money. That's what they thought about the Bucks and Hawks. They were like, oh, the Hawks are the more talented team, but they're going to make this thing go 7 games. So
you say the Hawks are the more talented team?
Well, that's what she said. So,
when
she was watching, I'm trying to think.
Look, I get the home.
I think she was watching Game 1, where Atlanta won. So,
but Mama London, I love you, great, but I can't agree with you on that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. All right. When we come back, we will be talking about the college football playoff. Because Tim said, obviously, Sports are coming back in the fall. Football is one of them. So we want to talk about the expansion. College football, should you expand? Should you not? We'll find that out in just a moment. We'll take this short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sideline Sports Show, episode number 2, Tim.
You know, and I even have it in my notes here that I need to remind myself to call it the Sideline Sports Show.
Yeah, me too.
When I did the rejoin last segment, I was like, all right, welcome back to the bit. Oh, nope, not that one.
Nope, not that one.
Nope, not quite that one.
Well, Tim, I'm going to paint you a picture, okay?
All right, good, because I can't. I'm not a good artist, so I need someone to paint for me.
It's August, last weekend. In August. We're about to get September. It's getting a little chilly. It's time for that hoodies and shorts weather. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, hoodies with shorts.
Oh, yeah. And the college football playoff announces we're going to expand to 12 teams. What would your thought be if that were true?
I like it because it's more than 4. And I preferably wanted 8 teams. But honestly, the more that I look at this 12-team playoff, it intrigues me. And people are talking about, the NCAA wants to include the non-Power 5 teams, and I'm like, why are y'all saying that like it's a bad thing?
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. That the UCF team from a couple years ago, Cincinnati just this past year, put them in games against teams that say, I don't know, like a Notre Dame or a Clemson or Alabama. Now, they may not win. But what if those times in which they do win, like March Madness, it makes those times so special. Now, it seems to happen more often nowadays. But still, it's crazy, it's special, and you don't know what's going to happen. So if you do something like that in football, where you take a Cincinnati or a UCF or whoever it may be, or even Coastal Carolina, but put them in there and see how they do, and become America's team and have the entire country rooting for them against the big bad Giants. I feel like that would be something that would be great. And I believe it was the top 6 conferences. So that way you get 4 conferences. Now, people are talking. Now, it may be bad for us because for people in the sports talk industry, just because we won't have the opportunity to blast the committee every week. We don't have to get on the you're so stupid and tell them why they're wrong and a bunch of idiots, even though they're ADs and people that'll be way smarter than I'll ever be. But it gives us a chance to blast them. So it's bad for us, but I think it's ultimately going to be really good for college football, and I think it's really going to be good. EA is working on the college football game.
Yes, that is correct.
Imagine a college football game where you're going to have a 12-team playoff. I think
that would be fantastic.
That'd be pretty cool.
Now, for the viewers joining, if you want to join in this conversation, you can always just leave a comment and just tell us what you think. Should they expand? Should they not? I think this would be fantastic because it gets people like North Carolina, that team that's rising to the top of the ACC, or at least trying to rise to the top of the ACC at the same level as people like Clemson. They're trying to get to that level, and it gives them a shot to go say, you know what, we may have fell against Clemson once, but let me go prove it again. Like Georgia, Alabama a couple years ago. Obviously that game was big in the SEC championship. Georgia obviously goes in and beats Alabama. But then Alabama still makes the college football playoff and then wins the national title that year. I think games like that, it's like, okay, maybe we should have more of this. Maybe we shouldn't. We don't know. But I think this gives people like those North Carolina or people like Cincinnati who missed out last year or other teams to say, okay, if you really want to put them in, go ahead, put them in. We'll let them either get beat or prove that they're the actual good team to beat.
Right. And like you said, it kind of gives everybody a chance.
Yeah.
And It's just and you have the format, right? Because the way it would work, the teams 5 through 12 would get slotted against each other, 5, 12, 6, 11, all that kind of good stuff. Everybody knows that. You slot those teams up, and you would put it in, I believe, in the bowls, and then you to the semifinals, and then the national championship. So you would ultimately have 6 bowl games, and like say your Fiesta Bowl, your Orange Bowl, all the stuff. What's the one in Dallas? Well, I know the Rose Bowl. You got all that kind of stuff. But you'd have all those bowls still, and you'd slot 2 of them for semifinals every year, and then the other 4 go as the essential quarterfinals. So I mean, the format's already there. So
Yeah,
I think no, excuse me, that would be the round of 16. Going into the quarterfinals, then we go to the semifinals. So it's a whole nother ball game, and it's something different. So I really do believe that this could be really good for college football.
yeah, and I think the hardest part would be, we already complained about the teams that get in or that don't make it, but now would it be more of the complaining side of the teams that do get in? Maybe like, a Miami, who has a 2-loss season, and they're like, why would we throw them in there? Like, maybe like a USCF, maybe. I don't know. Like a Tulsa, maybe. I don't know. Like, you throw one of those teams that really haven't competed that well, and you're like, why are we throwing them in there? Like, they're just going to get their butts handed to them. Like, now I feel like if that's the case where we do move to 12, that's going to be the turning point then, instead of, oh, well, this team didn't make it. Oh, well, this team didn't make it.
Well, I would rather see that than the same 4 teams every year.
Yeah.
And I say that one of the teams I root for is in every year. The only year they didn't make it was the first year, and my Clemson Tigers. They're there every year, and I'm tired of seeing the same old teams in there. As much as the games are, great the games are, Ohio State and Alabama, I wouldn't mind seeing someone different. I wouldn't mind seeing Clemson play a Florida, play I don't know, in Oklahoma again. See new teams in there that you don't usually see in a different environment. So, and real quick, Hunter, man, what are you on predicting that the Gamecocks are going to go 8-4?
So let's share this to everybody. Let's go ahead. All right, Hunter Milner. He says the Rays will win the AL East. Braves will turn around and they will get to the NL wild card. And my Gamecocks, South Carolina Gamecocks, will go 8-4. That's a bold prediction. I will admit. He does say it's a bold prediction.
Well,
but I will admit
it is a bold prediction. There's 3 parts there. The Rays won the AL East. That's a very good possibility. I mean, those guys.
Good possibility. Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah, and
if out of all of them, that's probably the one I would stick with the most.
Oh, absolutely. And then the Braves winning the wild card. Man, do you realize how loaded the NL West is right now with the Padres, the Dodgers, and even the Giants? The Giants are playing absolute fantastic baseball this year. The record's absolutely fantastic. Now, the Gamecocks, didn't they win 2-3 games last year?
Something. I mean,
hey, I know that they probably have a cupcake in there somewhere.
Now, I will admit
that's one win. I mean, but I go 8 wins.
You got to think
that may be a little high for Shane Beamer for first year in Columbia.
I agree. I was about to mention that. I was about to say, new coach this year, so it's a whole different scheme. You don't know who's your quarterback yet. Really, it's not firm. It's not 100% who your quarterback is. I mean, they're going to stick with the guy that they used towards the end of last year. That's what I've heard. But only played, 3-4 games maybe? So not a lot of experience as some of these other guys in the SEC. But this is the new year for quarterbacks in the SEC. So that could be a benefit. It could hurt. I'm not sure. So we'll have to see how that goes. But out of all of them, probably the AL East with the Rays. That makes sense. Braves making the wild card. It'd be tough.
Yeah, definitely more likely to win that division, and that's not even that likely at this point.
Absolutely.
So and interesting the Rays and the Braves there, because those 2 teams actually begin the second half of the season tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we are bringing back me and Tim's favorite segment. But if
I haven't heard the music yet. I don't know what it sounds like, but I'm really looking forward to this.
Here's the thing. We don't have music, unfortunately. But next week, we will have the music. So I can't get it pulled up, unfortunately. But if I could, we would. But anyways, when we come right back, we'll talk about our favorite segment, what it is, and what it's about when we come back.
into the final segment of this week's the Sideline Sports Show. And we teased that just about 45 seconds ago that we're doing the Clowns of the Week. So, man, I'm really excited to bring this back. What have you got for us?
Well, it started before the All-Star game with a guy by the name of Bryce Harper. Let me tell you about Bryce Harper if you're any type of Braves fan. No one likes Bryce Harper, okay? No one does, all right?
Except Freddie Freeman, apparently.
Apparently. But a fan, you know, I don't know if you've been on like TikTok or if you followed these trends where people say, if you like this, you raise your right hand. If you like this, raise your left hand.
I do know what you're talking about. I was this close to doing it when I went to the Braves game about a month and a half ago. I was this close.
Yeah, you should have. The first one is this, where a fan decided, hey, we're sitting right behind the dugout of Bryce Harper. Let's ask him a question. Bryce, raise your right hand if you want the Bucks to win. Raise your left hand if you want the Suns to win. And he says, I don't give a bleep about that. So he said, I ain't raising my hand for nothing.
I mean, dude, as someone said, that's a clown question, bro. I mean, come on.
Come on.
I mean, they're at a baseball game. Ask him about that. You're not a reporter. You're not a sports reporter. You're not someone that's gonna, just ask that for fun. I mean, come on. It's a clown question, bro.
It is a clown question. Then, obviously not a lot of sports going on, but PJ Tucker has become into a meme lately because of his being dunked on by one of the Suns player. And now it's being used worldwide. And he's saying, where's the foul? The whole time, where's the foul?
Mm-hmm.
If you've played basketball long enough, you know clearly that was not a foul. You just don't want to admit you just got dunked on.
Yeah, you just got absolutely thrown down to the ground. And he's sitting there like, what, where's the foul? Where's the call? And it's like, buddy, when do you ever see a ref call a charge on that? On an absolute poster. I think I've only ever seen that once in an NBA game. They don't call that. So if you're stupid enough to get in his way, first of all, he went airborne. I mean, that dude, just went boom and just wow right down on him. And
that's a great visual representation. So if you're listening to the podcast later, you have to go back and watch this of his visual representation.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
PJ Tucker.
Just absolutely reaches
getting
back
slammed on
and just goes airborne. I mean, he goes to a certain height that I'd have to get on stilts to get to reach that type of height. But I mean, the dude just threw it down on PJ Tucker. Man, I don't know if I'd be playing basketball anymore after that.
Yeah, for real. All right, two more, and then that's our last Clowns of the Week. First one, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, this man still vibing at Sunnyside beaches in Florida and playing golf instead of showing up to camp. Because this man, he says, I want out. But I'm not going to get out until you let me get out. So, Tim, Clown of the Week, maybe?
Now, this is an interesting one for me. Just because, I don't know. I wouldn't say I like Aaron Rodgers, but I don't hate the man. Just like so many people out there that just absolutely despise this man. I, for one, definitely hope he goes back to the Packers and kind of realizes, hey, this is a place I want to be. And I mean, him playing in any other uniform. I mean, it's like Brett Favre playing for the Vikings, like type weird.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's not right. That's not how that should be. And it's like Tom Brady playing for the Buccaneers. You're looking at that. Sorry, Hunter, I know you're a Buccaneers fan, but it's just you're looking at that and him in that bright red, and you're just like, that's just weird. That's just weird. And so to see him playing in any other color uniform, it's weird to me. And so I really hope he goes back. So I wouldn't quite go clown for me, but if he doesn't play this year, I would put him into that clown category.
Yeah. This was not a clown moment, but it is a funny moment where the Space Jam 2, the new legacy, is coming out, and they had the red carpet reveal, and the guy that makes those videos that mimics LeBron James got to meet LeBron James for the first time. And LeBron James sees him, and he says, I'm 36. And just gets a huge laugh out of it. So congrats to him. But one last client of the week, and then we're done. It is the new throwback uniforms for the Rams that look exactly like the uniforms that they have right now. Have you seen these, Tim?
I have not seen these, actually.
They literally look exactly the same as their jerseys they have now. All they added was yellow pants. That's it.
That's it?
And they call this their throwback uniforms. The same font number, same helmet scheme, just yellow pants.
So the throwback to last year? Is that what we're talking about?
I guess so.
I mean, and first of all, why would you even want to bring back yellow pants?
I don't know.
Why would you want to bring back yellow pants? No one's asking for that. No one wants that.
But it's their throwback.
Okay, don't bring it back. There's no reason. Leave that dead in the past. There's no reason to bring that back. There's no reason to bring that back. That throwback. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of the Bumblebee pants.
Hey, it does look like Bumblebee pants. If you haven't seen these, go check out the Rams Instagram. But it is absolutely hilarious. I mean, I'm looking at it now. Obviously, there's a picture of Kurt Warner, obviously, former Ram, and then Matthew Stafford standing to the side of him. It's on the Rams Instagram page if you want to go check that out. But literally, they just added yellow pants. That's all they did. They didn't change anything else. So,
yeah, that's definitely
great job. Think about that marketing meeting where you're like, all right, guys, we got to come up with a throwback uniform. What are we going to do? I got it. Add yellow pants.
That's it. Yellow pants. Yellow pants.
Yeah, yellow pants. Mic drop. We're done.
Yeah. And
fantastic. Fantastic job, guys. Fantastic.
Thinking there's something else, and you're just like, okay. All right, if that's what y'all want to do.
That's what we're going with, guys. That's what we're going with.
Get your little throwback.
Well, that is all the time that we have for today's episode. Tim, always great sharing the microphone and wired up with you, talking sports all the time. It's always a pleasure. Absolutely.
Absolute pleasure to bring it from the sideline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from the sideline. It won't be long before we actually get to the sidelines here for football season. We're almost a month away, Tim. A month away from football season starting.
I saw this. Yeah, I saw this, and I saw this probably a few weeks ago, right around the time July started. And it said, and it made me kind of happy. I'm not gonna lie. It said this month, being July, is the last month that we don't have football till next month.
That is true. That is true. That is very, very true.
That got me excited. And I'm like, whoa, that's true. I'm ready. I'm ready. As much as I like summer, I am ready. I am ready for football season.
That's right. Well, Tim, always an honor, always a pleasure.
Absolutely, sir.
We'll see you next week. That is episode number 2 of the Sideline Sports Show. Tune in next Thursday for more episodes starting next Thursday. Tim,
and make sure you go check out our social media pages too, man. We drop content over there. Try to do it daily, but we do have our jobs that actually pay us. So
yeah, that's true. As if you wanted to see. We actually announced yesterday, around the time where it was announced, Messi, obviously, new contract extension. So if you want to go check those things out, the 2K cover came out yesterday. We posted about that. We posted about the finals. We posted about today's episode. So make sure you go check out our Instagram page and Facebook page and also YouTube page where you can rewatch the show as well.
Absolutely. And I believe we're going to be posting the replay of the show to IGTV as well, right?
That is right. That is correct.
Yeah, there you go. You can rewatch this on IG,
Tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, technically, is when you can watch it. And also at the end of this, those videos, you will be able to see our social media pages. If you haven't followed it already, you can go and see that.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not following us already? Come on, hit that follow button.
Come on.
If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Hey, and if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, also subscribe.
And also share.
Yeah,
share.
Like, spread the word.
You're already watching it. Just share it. It doesn't take 2 seconds.
Don't be selfish. Let other people enjoy the sports content that we provide.
Exactly.
And come be a part of the community, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, I'll see you next week, my friend.
Later, brother.
All right. See y'all. Have a great week. Right back here next Thursday to bring you episode number 3. See y'all next week.